So there's a lot of advice I could offer you about medical school. I went to a rather authoritarian one, so I feel that if anyone can advise you well, it would be me. However, I'm trying to keep succinct about all this. So, for that purpose, if you haven't gone through the experience yet, the description of medical school being like a fire hose of information being shot at you is actually fairly accurate. The key thing, other than to be able to adapt, is to realize that not all information is equal. You don't need to quite know all that. It's better to understand conceptually the thing behind it, and then realize that a lot of people absorb the information like a sponge, release it during the exam, and have lost it in the process and go on to absorb the rest of the information. Don't feel bad about that, and don't let anyone guilt you over it. It's just really what happens. It's an adaptation skill, and by the time you go on to your dedicated, you will probably be in a better position than if you had never gone through the process, and you'll summarize and reabsorb and reconstruct all of the information there, so don't worry about it. The thing of the matter is that medical school is really inefficiently taught. Economics may partially factor into this. We were given a huge number, well, not given, we were charged for a huge number of books, which we never even opened. No one uses that. They use things like Pathoma when it's dealing with pathology. They use Sketchy. I mean, unfortunately, I didn't use these resources because I was trying to save money. They use things like Sketchy for micro. I think they may somewhat use it for farm as well. But unfortunately, Sketchy farm is, I think, an underutilized resource, etc. No one uses any of these other books, and I think the administration should know that. No one uses the vast majority of the books. So we just get billed for them, and I guess people get cutbacks or whatever. It's horribly inefficient. So anyway, there is just one book which is of any use that you get. It's this. Gray's Anatomy Review. That book. Not Gray's Anatomy, anything else, not any atlas or anything else. It's this. Because it has a lot of questions which you can use, and you use these to effectively teach yourself anatomy. It has all the questions. It has all the trick questions, more or less, that'll be presented to you. So if you just go through like 100 of these the day before the exam, you'll be fine. And on that note, did you know that I actually have all-nighted medical school exams? They said that couldn't be done. My very first medical exam, I pulled something of an all-nighter the day before the exam, learned the material, took it, and scored well. I always scored above the class average, despite the fact I probably studied the least of anyone. And in fairness, I was dealing with a lot of sleep issues. Not to mention, my school had a horrible policy that was probably meant to cause attrition. We had to be there at a certain time, etc., and my mattress in the apartment I was renting was so bad that I actually would wake up in pain from it. So, yeah, had a lot of sleep problems there. Not going to get into it, but there's a reason behind everything. But I'm really good at rapidly absorbing a large amount of information, so I basically would learn all the material the weekend before the exam. And I did well. Anyway. So the point of the matter is, ignore all the goddamn books. They don't really matter. Don't waste your time looking through articles or anything that makes you look good. Fuck that. You just need to score well. And along the way, you will learn more or less the concepts. Now, I'm going to tell you something honestly. You probably don't need 2 years of medical school. If you probably just take a few months to watch some of the YouTube videos I mentioned, like LY Med, you could probably learn the material pretty well in just that amount of time. So, my honest recommendation, although this isn't necessarily perfect for what they call normo, I still think it works for this. Basically, all you need to do is ignore pretty much everything that's said in class and just go and watch YouTube videos where they teach you stuff with a step. This step is such a thorough review of things, and you need to know basically everything, that I think for the most part you actually can learn medicine just by watching step videos. And also, if you have lab practicals and things like that, I was able to just learn everything and get an A just by watching at 2 times speed the lab videos the morning before the exam. I think I'd do it 2 or 3 times, and that was sufficient. So don't worry about that one. Basically, everyone else has also had it occur to them that what they need to do is just keep their head down and not be noticed in medical school. I have to say that's not really quite sufficient. But I'm not going to get into too much detail. The point of the matter is never talk to your professors if you can avoid it. Never contact the administration at all if you can avoid it. Keep away from basically anyone that can punish you. And, well, people can be assholes in medical school and get away with it, but if they contact the administration over repeated failures on their part for, I don't know, exam taking software or whatever, that's when people can get punished. So basically, they're not your friends, they're just there to take money from you, and make sure you don't give them the chance to hurt you. Beyond that, focus upon getting good night's sleep. Get familiar with something called melatonin. I had sleep issues, probably should have taken even more melatonin. Basically that's it. If there are any resources, if people upload any answers to the group or whatever, try to make friends with some people to maybe get access to that. Just basically don't allow yourself to get guilted into using huge amount of resources or using huge amounts of time, when honestly you'll learn this just as well by doing what everyone else has done to study for the STEP. So if you're here and you're learning from me how to study for the STEP exam, that basically is sufficient to get through medical school. Now just use the time and use the effort and you'll be fine.